Okay, time to make a video. Seems like forever since I napped anything. And I just did this before this video. It was a nice, flat and round nodule. And I thought it was going to be a piece of cake. But since I haven't been napping in a while, it actually felt like pulling teeth to get this thing done. Anyway, I made this for a friend of mine. It came out alright. This Curville knife thing. It was a perfect shape for it, so it came out alright. I put some mineral oil on this upper half because what I did was I ground it down so it wouldn't be sharp anywhere. So it'd be nice to handle. This is what I used to cut the deer meat that I brought back from the hunt. Mine is crude. I wanted to see if that would work, and it does work to be jagged like that. These Curville knives were finely made. I think that would work also, of course, for butchering, but I would not use this for prying apart joints. The joints are actually very tough. So you can cut tendon with this and then break the joint. Snap it and then cut tendon, but I wouldn't pry between. Like if you're trying to separate backbone vertebrae, that stuff, the backbone is extremely hard to pry apart. So I wouldn't even try it. We just used the saw, reciprocating saw, to cut the backbone. Anyway, this one that I used had an interesting cortex, so I didn't nap it all the way. And I've been using it to cut plastic and other things, and it cuts meat and tendon very well also. Alright, so we'll get to the main subject. I need to work on these preforms and get them down to this point style. Let's see. I looked it up, and it's supposed to be a Fort Ancient type point. It looks more like a Madison. Hold on. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to get this out of the bag. I thought I was smart by putting it in a bag. Okay, so I'm calling that a Fort Ancient, but the Fort Ancient had more of a straight or flat base. This is more like a Madison, right? So I'll make 5 of them like this. This is a project I'm working on. And I'll make 5 of them with a flat base. Yeah, so I got plenty of preforms. Should be able to make 10 of these. I'm not going to make them all on video. I'm just going to reduce these down. And I'll probably get 5 of these on video. Yeah, this is all raw Hornstone. Hornstone little blanks. And I got some flakes just in case I mess up those blanks and snap them in half or whatever. I think these flakes might work. I can probably just barely get stuff out of those. Alright. So yeah, I think this is the best thing I can do to get myself back into the swing of things. Yeah, that Curville knife felt like I was pulling teeth. But it came out alright. I don't like the way it's so steppy and stuff there, but oh well. I was messing with it a lot to try to get it symmetrical, but I'm just going to leave it. It's symmetrical enough. Oh yeah, I found one of my old atlatl darts. Yeah, typical average atlatl dart. This is asphaltum glue. It originally was over the top of everything. The binding and everything. I snapped off one of the barbs. This is Phragmites reed. It's not normal reed or giant cane or anything like that. It's the Phragmites that we have around here in West Texas. And it apparently only grows at high altitudes. So we're at over 2,000 feet here where I live. It grows everywhere. People think it's a pest, but it's excellent for arrows and atlatl darts. Just like it was back in the day. And I think it is a native species. Although, who knows? The arrows and stuff we have in the museums that are made of that stuff, they may be recent, but there's some Anasazi arrows or ancestral Pueblo Indian arrows that are made from Phragmites reed too. Seems to be the same stuff, and those ancestral Pueblo arrows are pre-contact, so the Phragmites did not come from Europe. If it's pre-contact arrows that the Anasazi were making, that means it's a native species. There's different reed species for sure. Okay, this is the tough variety of Hornstone, and I think it might be Fort Payne and not Hornstone. I'm not an expert at these rocks. I just know that they nap. That's it. I don't know much about this stuff. I think this stuff was from Tennessee. It's probably Fort Payne shirt. Very nice. See, I'm making newbie mistakes, and I was making newbie mistakes earlier today too. Come on. Don't tell me I gotta grind this a lot. This is raw stone. It's pretty tough. It shouldn't have to be ground down so much. But you never know. Sometimes even the tough stuff can't hold up to the percussion. So you gotta grind the edge way back, so it's strong enough to withstand the percussion and produce a flake. I don't do this with pressure because it's more difficult to do thinning flakes with pressure. Now, when am I going to do some more natural tool videos? They're coming up. I've got the materials. I've got the antler and the hammerstones. Most of my natural tools that I've already made are up in New Hampshire in my storage unit. I didn't bring them with me, so I had to assemble more materials to make more tools, and I got the materials. I just need to make the tools, which is not a big deal because it's just billets and hammerstones and simple pressure flakers. Shouldn't be a big deal. Well, none of this stuff is a big deal. It just takes time. It just takes time, that's all. That's what seems to be the problem. See, you work right. You work well there. Why not up here? It doesn't work in exactly the spots where you need it to work. Mm-hmm. You know you're napping when it doesn't work in exactly the spots where it needs to work. Yeah, that's how you know you're napping. That's how you know that this whole thing is a game of chance. And you strike and hope for the best. Yeah. You make a hit and hope for the best. Which is the most, this is a quiz. Which is the most difficult part of the flake to predict? Initiation, middle, or ending? I think it's probably different for different people. But for me, the ending, the termination of the flake is the most difficult part to predict. So you don't want to mess with taking risks with the terminations. With the terminations. Right? You don't want to mess around with trying to control the terminations. You just let them do what they're going to do and live with what you get. Now you can tweak it to where the terminations are less likely to do certain things. But it's still a game of chance. Even with all the precautions, you don't know. Because there's other circumstances. A lot of it has to do with the type of material that you're using. Both for the tool stone and for the knapping tools. How would I work this with natural tools? Well, I'd work it like pulling teeth. Yeah, it would not be fun at all. It would not be one of those invigorating challenges where you feel stimulated. No. You feel like your efforts are for naught, because it often will not do what you want. And you'll be chomping at the bit for some better material. And nobody has any. So you got to heat treat your stuff. And then, you ruin some of the stones in the heat treat, learning how to do it. And then finally you get good heat treat, but you're using natural tools to nap it. Yeah, it's not the optimum situation, because you could be getting better results with metal tools. But anyway, I'm not saying you should not use natural material. Some people actually feel more connected to the whole thing if they use natural materials, which is fine. They feel more connected to how the ancestors did it and connected to nature. Even though metals are part of nature, it's not the same. Yeah. I don't know why I chose this one. This is probably the worst one to start with. There's a lot better quality ones in there. Yeah, it's okay. Just try to blast through all the bad areas. That's a bad area. That's a quartzite. I might be able to blast through it because it doesn't go all the way through. If I get lucky, I might be able to blast through it. So far, not so good. And I'm not going to grind it more. No. Too much of a risk of snapping it in half, because the more I grind, the harder I need to hit. And the harder I need to hit, the greater the chance of snapping it in half. And yeah, I'm hitting this really hard. You don't know how hard I'm hitting, because you don't. If you're new, you're not hitting it nearly this hard. I found out over time and with lots of experience that new guys, they're not even coming close to how hard I hit these. They snap them with like 1/3 of the force I'm using. Believe it or not. So they're saying to themselves, how is he hitting it so hard when I'm snapping it with 1/3 of that force? It's because you don't have practice. You know, you can stay within the limits. You just gotta know how much to bite off. You're probably trying to bite off too much. Since it's such a small preform in many cases, you think you can just take a big old chunk off, relatively speaking, and you try to take too much off at once. I've been getting feedback from the Nacho-matic, and I'm receiving a lot of feedback that it's too powerful. It goes kabang, explodes the arrowheads. They're getting some exploding arrowheads. I mean, not everybody says that, but that's, you know, you want to know the bad part. You don't want to hear, oh, it works wonderfully great and fantastic and marvelous. No, you want to hear are there any issues? So there's a couple guys that are getting exploding arrowheads using it. Yeah, their arrowheads are exploding. You're putting too much force, obviously. Or trying to bite off more than you can chew. Yep. Here I am. I'm saying you're using too much force, and I'm telling you to use more. Because I'm using a lot of force. How does that make any sense? Yeah, you need to increase the use of force, but through practice. You know, not just, okay, more force. No, you've got to tweak it so that the force you're using isn't going to break it. How do you do that? Only through practice. I can't articulate how to do that with words. It's just after many, many failures, you learn to not to do the stuff that causes the failures. It's just as much what to do as what not to do, or I should say, it's just as much what not to do than what to do. And then someone's going to say, well, I thought you said that you can do the same thing over and over and over again until you get better results. Yeah. But there comes a point where you realize that if you do keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're not going to get anywhere with that particular technique. But give it time. Do it over and over and over again. If it just stays steady and you don't see any improvement at all, or no lucky hits, you're just not doing anything with it, then it's time to change it up a little bit. You know, maybe you need to go higher up on the platform. Maybe you need to go lower down on the platform. Maybe you need a different shape of the tip. A rounded tip might not work for you because you just don't know where to place it or what it's supposed to be doing or how much to grind. Or maybe a sharper tip works better for you. You know, try a sharper tip. You don't know what works better for you unless you try it. But give each technique a little bit of time. Don't switch right away. Don't go, it's not working, so I'm going to switch. I've switched like 18 times in the past week and I still can't get it. Yeah, you're switching too fast. Give it some time, and then how much is enough time? I don't know. 3 weeks? 3 months? Some people 3 years? Yeah, I've seen people do it exactly right. It should be working, but they're not getting it. Somehow they're doing something that's messing it up. And yeah, it might take you 3 years to get it right. And there may never be a eureka moment. It just may be a slow creep up to the point where you're starting to make stuff you want to make. Some people have a eureka moment and they go, I know what I've been doing. I should have noticed it before. But I don't know about most people, but I've seen people that are just, over time, it just creeps up to where they can finally do something. It's starting to, the light at the end of the tunnel is slowly getting brighter and brighter. It's just slowly creeping up. And then they can do it. Let's see if this Nachomatic can help me with this. Quartzite. See the quartzite? It's nasty. What do you do with nasty areas? You call out Nacho to fight it. Yeah. Reminds me of one of my favorite movies, Nacho Libre. Nacho. Bring out Nacho to fight it. Yeah. It fights good. It fights good. Kinda, sorta. I got room. I'm just messing with this one. It goes all the way through. That's the problem. So I'm not going to be able to get under it. I've got to whittle it down somehow. Now I could move on to another one, but no one wants to see easy stuff. Everyone wants to know how to get rid of the bad stuff. How to tackle the difficult stuff. Yeah, that's what I wanted to learn when I was starting. A lot of you guys are just starting. And the guys that are not just starting, just watch the video for background noise. Yep. So I'm not talking to you. Yeah. If you want to know how I do this with natural tools, just look. I have natural tool videos on this channel. Just type in Jack Crafty Abo or natural tool. YouTube searches have become pretty bad though. I just tried to help a guy find some of my videos, and I typed in a search that I recommended to him and it didn't even come up. My stuff didn't even come up, and I put the name in the title of the video, and it still doesn't show up. So the searches aren't that great. I don't know why. They used to be pretty good. But anyway, just search for Jack Crafty Abo, ABO, and you'll find videos on this channel that I use natural tools with. Yeah. Do they work good? Compared to what? Compared to, compared to using metal. No, they don't work good compared to using metal. They work good compared to using wood. Have you tried knapping with wood yet? It works on big stuff, kind of, sort of. Passable with big items. You get a big old wooden billet of ironwood of some sort. Ironwood is just a catch-all term for wood that is extremely dense. Yeah, you can use ironwood billets to knap big stuff. But this stuff, try knapping this with a piece of wood. So yeah, antler works better than wood. It works good compared to wood. With this kind of stuff, small stuff. I've got live oak. I've got access to lots of live oak. It's one of the most dense woods you can get. And a pressure flaker or a percussion flaker of live oak on this stuff doesn't do anything to it. If it's tough raw stone, it doesn't do anything to this stuff. So yeah, antler works better than that. But I like working this stuff with steel, mild steel, because a hardened steel is too hard. You got to get the middle ground. You got to get these are nails. These are 16 penny nails, and I have 20 penny nails too. But my cheater tool. No, that's a 1/4 inch spike. I don't know. I got 20 penny nail things around here somewhere. Anyway, yeah, I like to use the. What am I doing? I like to use the 16 penny nail for my pressure flakers. Mild steel. And then keep it relatively sharpened. One-inch oak dowel. Now, if you put Herculean pressure on it, you're going to split the dowel. If I anticipate that I need Herculean pressure, I'm not going to use pressure. I'll switch back over to percussion with a percussion rod, horizontal punch. Yeah. Sometimes it's like it's not working with the pressure. I need some Herculean strength, and I don't have it. So I go to the indirect percussion. Besides, it's just the start of the week. I'm not going to wear myself out. See that lump right here? That lump right there? That's where I stuck myself with the cactus. It still feels weird. I pulled it out, but... And then someone in the comment section said, it's got a toxin that continues to work on your system for a while. I'm thinking, oh, great. Yeah, it bugs me, because I use that area when I'm pressure flaking and stuff. Yeah, it still bugs me. Oh yeah, I got a new old used flaker. I can try to use this. Should I try to use it? I got this flaker from a friend of mine. I don't care if I snap this one. I've always snapped. See how flexible it is? I've always snapped points. I'm not gonna do it on that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna do it. I know I'll snap it because I have a weird talent. I can bend the pressure flaking pads if they're anything except wood. Yep. It's a weird talent. I gotta have something solid back here, stiff, wood or better, so I don't bend them. I don't know what I do, but I bend these and I snap my points. Yeah, 3 out of 4 times. And it always, when I'm not supposed to, exactly when I need to not snap it, it'll snap. When I need a big flake and I got it perfectly set up and I sharpened my tool, I made a good ground area, I push really, really hard, and instead of the flake releasing, it snaps because I bend the pad. After that, after many, many times of that, it's like having your skull hit with a baseball bat. After so many times you get hit in the head with a baseball bat, you go, you know what? Doing this over and over and over again is not getting anywhere, so gotta switch it up. So I never use those pads anymore. But I got one as a gift, so I never look a free tool in the mouth. Nope. I said, yeah, I'll take it. Maybe I can figure out what I'm doing that bends the pad so easily. Some of you saying, well, dude, you just glue a piece of steel or something to the back and stop fussing. Yeah, you're gonna send me a piece of steel like that so I don't have to cut it? Because I don't feel like cutting that piece of steel. I could use a piece of wood too, of course. That would be easier. I just use a piece of wood. I'll probably back that pad because I do need a slotted pad. Apparently I need a slotted pad because a lot of my flakes terminate because of contact with the pad. And if I don't have to have them terminate that way, I should just do it. Just use a slotted pad. Oh, come on. It fanned out, right? It did fan out, but it didn't do it quite far enough to get that. You know, it fanned right there, but it's supposed to fan more this way. Yeah, I shouldn't be upset because it's controlled. Yeah. I control that fan. Yeah. When it fanned out like that, it's perfectly controlled. I shouldn't complain. It's exactly what I was doing. Everything I did led to that being like that. So what am I complaining about? I'm complaining because there's an element of chance there. Didn't do it. It didn't do it. And I was hoping it would. I was hoping it would do it that time too. But it didn't. It didn't. There's got to be a way. I could push on it with a cheater tool. Instead of using the nacho, I can use another cheater tool. you know, spatula tool and just push off on the face of the step fracture. But I got room. This preform is pretty big, so I'm just going to take down the width. You know, it'd be better if I had been able to remove it without removing so much width. But, you know, why is that? Well, because it gives you good practice. Preserving your material is always good practice. Even if you don't need to preserve width, if you're practiced at doing it, you can use more of your material. Less waste. Yeah. You can kind of control how much you waste. That's one of the easier things in Flintknapping to control, is the amount of waste. You can try and avoid the things that produce a lot of waste. I say try because you can't always do it. And a lot of times you produce more waste by being too careful. Yeah. You didn't know? Now you know. You can actually produce more waste by trying to be too careful. This is not going to be fun. I still got lots of room. I might be able to get it out. But man, it's going to be thin. I don't want it to be that thin, but oh well. See how thin it's getting? If it gets too thin, it just snaps in half. And then I got nothing. Nothing. Yeah, I could take the tip down. Yeah, okay. I got room. If people want me to nap quartzite, I got some quartzite. Talking about quartzite, this stuff. I got some quartzite that I can nap. Some people live in areas that all they have is quartzite. But I'm telling you right now, if you're new and you're using quartzite, you need to not be using quartzite. Do not be using it if you're new. No. It's an advanced napper material. It's not a new napper material. Yeah, sometimes you'll find the prodigy that can use quartzite right out of the starting gate. But no problems. They got no problems. No PROLEMS. No problems. That's the expression that Flintknappers use. Yeah. On this channel, anything that's an obstacle in Flintknapping is called a problem. You didn't know? I use a funny word because you can't get too bent out of shape about problems in Flintknapping because you're going to have a ton. You're going to have so many problems that you got to start laughing at them. Yeah. Whether it be flakes in your eyes, you know, running to the sink to flush your eye out because you got a flake in there, to cuts, to spending thousands of dollars on traveling here and there, getting stone. We're ordering it for you and your buddies. For all kinds of stuff. Yeah, if you have a stone supply, you can't just hog it for yourself. If you got buddies, you know, they get some too. And then you're out there. Gathering up all this stuff. You drop one on your foot. Yeah. And you forgot your steel toe. Like, I don't have steel toes on today. You drop one on your foot and you're going, dang it. And then you come home. What'd you do with your toe? Oh, it's just a flint-napping accident. You've been flint-napping with your toes? Well, it's related to flint-napping. I dropped one of those fancy rocks on my toe. Yeah. It's a flint-napping accident. You drop a fancy rock on your toe, it's a flint-napping accident. It's not because you've been napping with your toes, although I'd love to see that. I'm not going to do it, but I would love to see it. You can do everything else. I've seen people paint pictures with their feet, you know, using their toes on their feet. Of course, there's toes on your feet. Where else are toes going to be? I don't know. I'm just trying to get through this quartzite. Doing it very slowly so I don't break the whole thing. You're wondering why it's taking me 42 minutes just to get to this point. This is a very delicate procedure, you know, like surgery. Yeah. You heard that expression, it's a delicate procedure? Yeah. This patient could die on the operating table. I got to be very, very careful. I don't want my patient to die on the operating table. Gotta take it slow. And, you know, be very, very careful. And see if it does it. Did it do it? It kind of, sort of did it almost enough to be good. Yeah, and I still got room. So I might be able to make one out of this. Ideally, I could make one of these in 15 minutes. With the best stone and a lot of practice, I could probably do it in 15 minutes. But with this type of stone, very inconsistent and prone to snappage. Oh yes, it is prone to snappage, so I got to be careful. It's difficult to do it fast, if not impossible. Dang it. It still will not cooperate. It's supposed to flake through there. Supposed to. I'm going to switch back to the larger percussion flaker. Why does it even make a difference? I don't know. I really honestly don't know why it makes a difference to switch over to the bigger one. It just seems to work better. I guess it's just psychologically. Psychologically, I'm forced, or my brain thinks I need to hit harder, so I'd hit harder with the larger percussion tool, and it works well. Supposedly. Oh, almost did it. See, I'm supposed to come in through there to get rid of the step fracture, but it didn't do it. But it probably would have been even worse with the smaller. Probably. We don't know. We don't know anything for sure. I was thinking about that most of the day today, thinking about what am I gonna talk about during videos, and should I talk about what archaeologists are saying about lithic reduction, and how they are explaining it? Should I talk about how archaeologists view and explain and imagine lithic reduction without actually participating in it? That's what gets me. But anyway, I don't know. Should I talk about that? It doesn't affect them at all, because they'll just double down on what they're proposing, because I'm not within their sphere of science. Yeah, I'm just on the fringes. What do I know? Yeah. I just hit rocks, that's all I do. Anyway, I could talk about it. I've got issues that I could talk about. But they're too hard to remember while I'm napping, so I gotta write them down and stuff. Yeah, I've never been one for writing down what I'm going to discuss during my nappings, because it's not off the cuff. I like just talking off the cuff, and just say whatever comes to mind. All right. This is risky. I know this is risky. But dang it, I gotta get through that quartzite. See, it's getting thin. It's risky in that I could just snap it. Anyway, we're going to cheat a little bit and then move on, because I'm tired of dealing with it. Right. Good. Yeah, just use the cheater tool to press on the front of those stiff fractures. Some quartzite is actually not that difficult to nap through. But this stuff, even with the cheater tool, it does not want to move. It wants to stay put, so we'll just leave it. Yeah. Oh, the horror. Oh, the horror. Just leaving it. Oh. Give me some Pepto-Bismol. Any of you remember Pepto-Bismol? I know a lot of you do, but I'm talking to the younger generation. Do they remember? I don't know if they remember or if they even used Pepto-Bismol. It has bismuth in it, right? Bismuth, whatever that is, some kind of chemical that supposedly settles your stomach. I remember times when I was so sick, feeling like I'm throwing up, like I want to throw up, and then my mom would give me Pepto-Bismol. And the association with being very sick and then drinking that, now whenever I think about it, I feel sick. I think about the taste. It makes me feel sick. Yeah. And just the name, Bismol. It sounds like abysmal. Yep. I suppose it worked for some people. Some people might be saying, don't be ragging on my Bismol. No. Don't be picking on my Bismol. I gotta have it. Alright, dude. It's okay. Stop talking smack about your Bismol. I don't know what. How did I get onto that? Yeah, I know why. Because this whole thing is anxiety. This whole point is giving me anxiety. An upset stomach. My mom always used to say, it's giving me an ulcer. It's giving me ulcers. It's giving me the ulcers. Okay. What to do? Not much else except shaping it. It's already thin enough. Except for this stupid lump right there, but you know what? Let's see what this does. Who cares if I grind it? It's just quartzite. Yeah. Who cares? Let's see if I can grind it. I'm going to do it this way. Yeah. See, you've seen it here, folks. Here first, folks. I had some questions lately on that. A friend of mine asked me, are there many arrowheads that have this grinding on the surface? Like that, just to make it smooth? I said, I don't know of any in North America, but I know that I've seen some Chinese arrowheads like that, where they nap it and then they grind it down flat. And you can see the napping around the edges, but in the middle it's all flat. What's the source? I don't know the darn source. If I can find those pictures again, I'll see. I'll show you. They were posted on a forum that no longer exists. So you know what that means. It means the pictures are probably gone forever. Because some sources are highly obscure. And you only get to see it once in your lifetime, and you go, I wish I could see those pictures again, but the guy that posted them is dead, or the forum is dead, or something died. No more pictures. Yeah. I can reproduce them from memory, but no one's going to believe me unless they see the actual photo with a source that's verifiable. Right? Right. No? Don't need a source? Well, that'd be a first on the internet. Yeah, that's people's favorite expression. I call them denizens. The denizens of the internet, their favorite expression is, what's your source? Those are the denizens. They live on the internet. They know all the sources. They've read the whole internet. You give them a source and they'll go, wait a second, that source doesn't exist, or that source is not to be trusted, or that source is blah, blah, blah. They know it from memory because they're such denizens of the internet that they've already read that source. And they go, no mention of that in that source. Yeah, I'm exaggerating. But it does happen. I've had it happen where this guy knows all the sources. He's read 87 books on that one topic. And memorized the whole thing. Memorized 87 books. Yep. He knows. He'll ask you for the source, even though he knows where it's from. He won't say something like, "No, it's not in that source. This is in a different source." He won't help you out. He'll just make sure that everyone sees that you're wrong. Now, do I do that? I have been known to do that, yes. Making sure that other people see that you're wrong. Oh yeah, I've done that. Those were the early days of the internet. It gets old though. But if someone is spewing misinformation, that's the new term these days, misinformation. I will call them out, or I will bug them, or I will make a comment that I know they're not going to like. And not to stir up trouble, but to reveal what they're thinking, how they deal with facts, how they deal with truth, how they deal with scientific method. If they're not dealing with that stuff properly, they are not a good source. Even if they know the sources of what they're talking about, if they themselves, if they're not logically minded, they're only quoting what supports them, and they ignore contrary evidence or studies to the contrary, that sort of thing. If you find out they are somebody that ignores evidence to the contrary, or has this weird concept of what logic is, even though they have sources, they're not going to be using them correctly. They're going to be cherry picking. They're going to be saying stuff like, essentially it's this, or basically it's that. Or the preponderance of evidence, or the consensus is blah blah blah. I mean, sure, it's fine to mention that majority of people would think a certain way, or there's a preponderance of evidence in one direction. Yeah, it's fine to mention that, but it's not going to be the determining factor in what the truth is. It might be true that the consensus is blah blah blah. You might say, "Well, that's the truth. This consensus is blah blah blah. He's speaking the truth." Yeah, we don't need to know what the consensus is. We need to know what the contrary evidence is, if there is any, what the questions are, what the sample size is, and has there been any tests? Has this been tested? Or what would be a good way to test it? We can discuss how would it be tested. You might say, "Well, it's already been tested tons of times. Why test it more?" There's never enough tests, because you never know when a test could produce a negative result. How do you know when there's enough testing? You don't. You never know how many tests are going to be enough to prove something. That's one of the things about science. That's why it's difficult to come up with anything definite, because you don't really know how many tests are required to be sufficiently confident of your answer. Yeah, you learn that in epistemology. What is epistemology? It's the study of the philosophy of science, or the philosophy behind the scientific method. The philosophy behind the scientific method is epistemology, or it also has to do with the discovery of the truth, which is, the main objective of the scientific method. Testing is one of the vital things you can do when it comes to the scientific method. Test and test and test. You can never test it enough. Of course, you might get sick of it after a while. Yep. And you might fail. Cause failure. Before the test is over. What's ironic is that a defect like this was so difficult to nap through, and yet so easy to break at that point. Yeah, what's up with that, right? What's up with it being so difficult to nap through and yet so easy to snap? But now we know the limit. Yeah, so it is useful to know the limit. It's useful because we can use super glue now. Show how effective the super glue is. Yeah, I could do that. Like a super glue. If this is gonna be only for display, which it probably is, I can super glue and no one would know. And they would say, what is that weird, apparently there's a weird glue line. And I would say, no, it's just a healed crack. Yeah. Yeah. Healed crack. You can barely notice it. Yeah. Oh well. We'll do it better on the next video, because I don't have any other defects like that on any of these. These are all defect free in the middle. I picked the worst one actually to nap. And after being careful all that time, I snapped it with a pressure flake. Yep. All right, there you go. That's it.